Right. So without further ado, I would like to invite Nukila Evanty, the chair of Women Working Group of Indonesia, one of the leading NGOs in Indonesia, and she will deliver an opening speech. But Nukila, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much, Prof. Rina. So welcome to series 11, Prof. 11, International Sharing Forum on Gender and Human Rights. Today we are talking about the interesting issues regarding aging and contemporary health issues. We are getting older, and aging is the gradual and irreversible pathophysiological process, as we understand about that, yeah, right? It presents the decline in tissue and cell functions in our body, significant risk to various diseases such as neurodegenerative disease, cardiovascular, metabolic disease, musculoskeletal disease, I learned about that, and then immune system disease. So although there are so many development of modern medicine has promoted human health and greatly extended life expectancy, with the aging of society, a variety of chronic disease have gradually become the most important causes of the disability and that of the elderly individual or the senior individual, I can call like that. So what about human rights and gender? Yeah? What is the relationship between human rights and aging? So human rights, as you might be aware, is for everyone, everybody. Not to mention for gender and then children, women, and elderly. So human rights can change people lives. They can change people. So protecting people with aging will help to enable them to lead dignified, secure life, equal members in the society. So I don't want to use your time for the outstanding panel for today. I would like to thank you for the University International Batam, UB, for a long time partner for our to organize this seminar. I would like to say thank you for the panelists, Dr. Manman Yang from West Anhui University China. Welcome, Professor. And Professor Albert Lee, Vice President, Asia World Association for Medical Law and Emeritus Professor of Public Health and Primary Care of the Chinese University of Hongkong. Welcome, Professor Albert. And next, Dr. Muhammad Ali Sabisi from Bunda Halimah Hospital, Batam Indonesia. Welcome, Dr. Muhammad Ali Sabisi. And then we have Dr. Abuelgassim Mudawi Ahmed from Hamad Medical Corporation Doha, Qatar. Welcome, Professor Dr. Abuelgassim. And we have the outstanding one, moderator Professor Rina Shahrullah. Okay, I would like to give the floor to now to moderator and enjoy the discussion.
Okay, thank you so much, Mbak Nukila. We would like to start, okay, the panel. We're starting first with our panelist is Dr. Manman Yang. Okay, she obtained a doctoral degree in law from the University of Macau with particular interest in medical law. She is currently a lecturer at West Anhui University, Anhui, China, and secretary of the academic committee of the Faculty of Law. She teaches civil law, contract law, tort law. Her research interests are medical malpractice, patient safety, and patient rights. She's also a lawyer of Anhui Yinghui legal firm. So, Professor Manman, are you with us already?
Yep. Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
a lot to Professor Rina for the introduction. Okay, I'm glad that I have a chance to share with you the topic about hospice care in China, dignity and choice in legal perspective. And for the content of this talk, the topic of the choice of life, the content. Please, next slide. Yeah, the content of the topic, the choice of life, the right life, and the right die, develops into one of modern society's most complex and controversial areas. It examines the fundamental rights regarding life itself, autonomy, the intersection of law and ethics, further explores how an individual's autonomy in relation to end-of-life decisions, the duty to care and self-determination, legal limits, and ethical considerations, analyze the conflict between the medical professional's obligation to care and a patient's rights to decide about their own life. When it comes to law and practice of end-of-life care, a path that respects autonomy focuses on how end-of-life care can be carried out in a way that respects a patient's autonomy within the framework of the law. So the last part is the conclusion of this talk. So firstly, next slide, please. Firstly, let's see what's the definition of hospice care. World Health Organization describes hospice care or palliative care as a proactive and holistic care to patients and patients' families who are facing problems related to life-threatening illness. So it's the primary objective of managing pain and other symptoms while addressing the patient's physical, psychological, or spiritual needs. In this talk, hospice care denotes the comprehensive care provided to terminally ill patients to maintain patients' comfort and dignity throughout the end-of process. So this talk, next slide, please. This talk aims to explore the essential elements of establishing a hospice system focused on individual autonomy at the last moment of life. The talk analyzes concepts such as the right life, the right die, and autonomy. This talk will establishes the legitimacy of end-of-life care when conceptualizing an ideal framework for hospice care. The ultimate goal is to provide a feasible path for individuals to experience the final stages of life with dignity and serenity. This is a combination of ethics and policy talk. It devolves into ethical concepts like the right to live and autonomy, aiming to conceptualize an ideal framework and chart a feasible path with policy implications. So, next, okay, thank you. In the realm of end-of-life care, pivotal question often arise: do patients have the right to life and the right to die? Based on Article 1002 of Chinese Civil Code, a natural person enjoying the right to life, a natural person's life, safety and dignity are protected by law and free infringement by any organization or individual. Here is the question. The code recognizes a right to life, but it does not specifically address the right to die. Its absence raises a contentious question on whether China legally recognizes the autonomy of an individual to choose the time and the manner of the death. So there are three representative views related to this question: the negative view, the compromise view, and the affirmative view. The negative view deliberately pursues the length of life while ignoring the dignity that life deserves. The compromise view appears to be a modification of the negative view, but it still recognizes the patient's right to refuse life-sustaining treatment at the time of death and is in fact closer to the affirmative view. The next, okay. Even though the civil code does not recognize the right to die, its recognition for the dignity of life offers the different view of this issue. The dignity of life is the essential attribute of human beings, the core of which is to respect of the individual's life choice and independent decision, including the independent choice of the way of death. In medical decision-making, patient autonomy is very important, which is embodied in the right of patients to choose treatments and stop treatment according to patients' own values and life wishes. So from a legal point of view, the protection of the right to die is a concrete manifestation of the dignity of individual life to make sure that individuals can choose according to their own wishes at the last moment of life. Here is a question. Who should possess the ultimate authority to exercise the right to die when it is recognized for terminal ill patients? So let's move on to the part 2. Article 113 of the Civil Code of PRC. Yep, thank you. Clearly stipulates that the persons of the civil law enjoying their civil law rights according to their own will and in accordance with law, free from any influence. In the medical field, patient autonomy refers to the patient independent choice and decision on medical decision-making, include the right to accept or refuse a specific treatment. So we respect patient autonomy means that respecting the patient's ability to act as a decision-making subject, which means that the patient has a right to make choices based on patient's values and beliefs. However, there are several ethical controversies of autonomy, like the autonomy versus slippery slope effect debate. The core of the slippery slope argument is a concern that excessive focus on personal autonomy may lead to a rush end of life. This concern extends further to the possibilities that vulnerable patients might be forced by outside pressures, like patient's spouse, patient's children, society, to make choices against the patient's will, or that choices based on autonomy lead to some avoidable deaths in situations where medical judgment is unclear. However, from a physical analogy, various factors might influence the slide of an object from top to bottom of a hill, but it's not inevitable. Similarly, a human with personal autonomy, presented with a free choice, need not act to set events into motion to reach some inevitable bottom of the slope result. So such decisions might lack a direct care relationship. And there are also the conflict between autonomy and sanctity of life. Next. Yep. The position against autonomy emphasizes that while autonomy is a significant value, it's not the only value that should be valued. This view argues that it's inappropriate to overemphasize autonomy to the point of sacrifice one's life, placing autonomy above ethics. Scholars who hold this view adhere to the principle of the sanctity of life. However, overemphasizing the sanctity of life and neglecting autonomy infringes on the individual's personal and dignity. Every individual has a right to make decisions about their life that are consistent with their values and wishes. Besides, it's too one-sided to say that to overemphasize autonomy to the point of sacrifice one's life is to place it above ethics. Autonomy is not the blind pursuit of death, but a rational choice based on a complete understanding of one's situation and the possible consequences. And there are also some scholars question whether there is an internal logic of autonomy. From the perspective of natural rights, patients are recognized as having a right to treatment and restoration of health, a right that derives from a person's right to life. When a patient chooses to refuse treatment based on autonomy, and this decision ultimately leads to his or her death, it appears that a patient's right to autonomy conflicts with his or her right to life. However, this patient's autonomy includes the right to choose treatment and equally to refuse treatment. In the case of terminally ill patient, if the patient chooses to continue to receive treatment, it may not be possible to avoid the outcome of death. According to the logic of the challenger, it's unreasonable to conclude that the patient's right to treatment is denied because the treatment may ultimately fail to avoid death. Here's the question. Patient autonomy also involves making decisions about the end of life, which may conflict with the physician's duty to help. Do physicians' professional ethics require them to do their best to save lives, while patients' autonomy may require them to stop such efforts? So let's move on to the third part. The duty to care and self-determination, legal limits and ethical considerations. The medical professional generally regarded Article 27 of the Physicians' Law of PRC as a legal obligation of physicians and medical staff to provide first aid. This provision is undoubtedly necessary and has positive significance for patients hoping for rescue and emergency assistance. However, in the process of rescuing terminally ill patients, medical personnel only follows established fixed procedures, which brings considerable pain to the patient while failing to change the outcome of death. Under such circumstances, patients' real needs and dignity are often ignored. And next slide, please. And physicians are easily to be affected by the opinions of patients' family. Under the far-reaching influence of traditional Chinese culture, it's not easy to achieve real self-determination. This influence is particularly evident in the medical field, especially when the patient's wishes conflict with the views of patient's family, and physicians often tended to choose to the patient's family. Here is question: how can hospice care be structured to make sure the realization of autonomy for terminal patients? So now we come to the fourth part: law and practice of end-of-life care, a path that respects autonomy. So living will is a legal tool for safeguarding patient autonomy and the dignity of life. So what's a living will? A living will, also known as a advance directive, is a medical directive made by an individual when the individual is healthy to guide future medical actions when the individual may not be able to make decisions in the future. The living will reflects the autonomy and the dignity of patients, helps to avoid overtreatment and objectification of the doctor-patient relationship, and make sure that patients can die with dignity in their last moment. China's stringent special economic zone medical regulations clearly stipulates the legal status of living will for the first time, but at present, is merely applicable to terminal or dying patients with incurable injuries or illness. We should respect the rights of the patient's informed consent and informed refusal. The informed consent is very important for the patient, because informed consent is the basis of the legality of medical behavior. Only when physicians fully fulfill the obligation of interpretation can the physician-patient relationship be equal, and physicians can essentially stand on the same decision-making level as physicians. Besides, physicians may not perform arbitrary medical acts without the patient's consent. Informed consent is very important. Make sure patients can make autonomous decisions. Like the patient's informed consent, the patient's informed refusal also important, because the right of informed refusal is the key to patient autonomy, which gives patients the right to decide whether to accept or refuse treatment. As legal basis steps from respect for patients' dignity and autonomy of choice. Patients have the right to accept, reject, or choose a treatment plan in the medical treatment process, and their informed refusal is a manifestation of their rationality and an essential form of exercise their autonomy. And we showed, next slide, please. And we should respect the principle of the best interest of the patient. When a patient is conscious and autonomously refuse medical treatment, still, if their close relatives, like their spouse, like their children, request it, the medical practitioner should follow the patient's choice and take other medical measures, because individuals are the strongest defenders of their interests. Medical decisions must follow the best interest principle to make sure that patients' dignity and rights are protected. The principle of the patient's best interest requires that incapacitated person who can't make decisions on one's own must consider all factors relevant to the patient, not just those who believe to be important when determining the patient's best interest. So now we come to the conclusion of this talk. In medical practice, it's essential to respect the autonomy of patients, which reflects respect for their dignity and human rights. Hospice care not only preserves the dignity of the patient's life, but also manifests profound respect and humanistic care for the end-of-life process. To make sure the realization of autonomy of terminal patients, hospice care should construct corresponding system rules in the aspect of leave wills, the right of informed consent, the right of informed refusal, and the principle of the best interest of patients. As Francis Bacon said, my duty as a physician is not merely to help my patients regain their health, but to relieve their suffering. Our task is to enable our patients to face death without fear, to see it as a relief. While it's undoubtedly tough to make a person happy about death, at least one can improve the quality of death by providing hospice care, so thereby reducing people's fear of death and helping them to make the last moment of life in peace and dignity. So that's all. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Manman. Very interesting topic. Talk about informed consent, autonomy of patient, and informed for refusal, because about the rights of the patient to refuse the treatment. And it's something that we have to discuss further later, okay? And then I'll just stop sharing the slides, and I would like to invite, okay, our next speaker is Dr. Abuelgassim Mudawi Ahmed. His education, he graduated in 1994 for his LLB and Masters of Law in 2000 and Ph.D. in 2016 on Medical Malpractice University of Khartoum. And also, he has the diploma on international arbitration and business law in 2010 from University of England and Wales, UK. And he's also got IT credentials and published books and research. And his expertise, there are many expertise, but I'd just like to mention some of it. Corporate law, including policies and procedures and malpractice litigation, medical law and medical ethics and regulations, and laws and regulations pertaining protection of women and children while receiving health care. So without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Abuelgassim. The screen is yours.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everybody.
Salam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I hope you are hearing me well.
Yes, yes, we can hear you very well.
Okay. This presentation will focus on the fundamental rights of patients, which is derived from the practice of medical ethics and the ongoing progress of human rights in general. The second slide, please. Okay, the source of human rights in general and the patient rights come from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 8, specifically Article 12, which gives the right to individual to have a perfect level of health and well-being, this including the patients and their families. So the role of the state governments is to provide people with good standard of well-being and family. The second slide. One of the main basic rights of patients is the right to, is to access to the health care. Every person has the right to receive the health care service regardless to the gender, race, ethnicity, or religious or social status. The basic services could be provided by the healthcare regulator in each country is woman well-being and child well-being. These are the basics for it should be free of charge treatment, free of charge healthcare service. The position or the situation of emergency, it took very landmark issue in the healthcare, that every person where it is naturally has the right to access to the health care, he or she, in case of emergency, has fully rights to get the treatment and health care, regardless to the cost of treatment. As you know, in a lot of healthcare systems, the treatment or the delivery of healthcare is free of charge, including whatever investigation, diagnosis, and treatment and medication. All this, it would be free of charge in case of emergency. My colleagues, Menan, she talked about the right of autonomy, and I think she covered it well. So I will escape from this issue, but I will just highlighting that the autonomy is come from the freedom of patient to participate in his treatment plan and to know about the plan of treatment and how the healthcare would be delivered to him or her. There is a legal argument about the legal value of the informed consent, which is the features of exercising the autonomy right. What the value of this in litigation or in patient complaint system in the healthcare system which adopted such kind of complaints. In litigation, the informed consent does not reveal the practitioner from legal liability where any malpractice happened due to aviation from the standard practice of the medical procedures in question. So yeah, it is sort of that patient should share the information, but in elective medicine like plastic surgery, the informed consent has a great value because the duty of practitioner here is to achieve result, not to provide care and skill as in the normal medical procedures. In plastic surgery, the patient is running after a specific result. Like مثلا football players, media stars, like that, if they have any request of plastic surgery, so they need the surgeon to adjust their shape in according to improve their appeal in the media or in the if in playing football. So the informed consent in normal medical procedures, it will not reveal the liability from the practitioner, but in the plastic surgery or in the elective treatment, it has a great value. Please, the past slide, Prof. Hello. Yeah, the past one. Yeah.
Excuse me, is this the one, or you want to?
I think no, the right to protection of patient right, the past one.
The first one. Okay. Oh, the previous one. This one.
Okay.
All right.
One of the basics right is to provide protection to patient privacy and confidentiality. Meaning of privacy, as you know, is that from the beginning nobody has the right to break the privacy of others. Okay, the confidentiality means that when hello. The confidentiality means that where this privacy by law could be entered into, so anything that gained or known because of this allowance or permission should be kept confidential. All the medical records, investigations, or medical data is considered to be confidential. So it should not be disclosed to other than the patient. And the laws, policies in hospitals definitely will regulate how this confidential information could be passed to the permissible people according to the law policy. Definitely the law enforcement authorities like courts, public prosecutors, attorney general, they have the right to have an access to the confidentiality where there is a court case in front of them. Infectious control departments have the right to access because of the duty of protection of society. Also, a research on the consent of the patient also should be, the information of the patient could be shared and accessed. In case of unconsciousness, the legal guardian will have the right to determine what is the status and to whom the information could be declared or disclosed. Definitely, when a breach of such kind of privacy and confidentiality, it will render legal sequences. The patient or his family has the right to file a case for compensation versus the facility, that means the hospital, and the person who caused such kind of illegal disclosure. Also, he or she has the right to raise the criminal liability against both hospital represented in the legal representative of the hospital and the staff who disclose illegally the confidential information. Definitely, the compensation will cost the hospital huge monies, and this, in Europe and UK and US, it is very, very tough area, and the court usually is giving a lot of money in case of proven of such breach of right. Definitely, the disciplinary action within the facility will be required against the staff who committed this illegal disclosure of the information. The next, please, the next slide, Prof.
It is the one? Yeah.
Also, the basic right which is generated from the ethics of medical practice is that the patient has the right to complain and to raise concern where he or she face any difficulties while receiving the health care. Where to complain? In a hospital, most likely there is a department concerned about the patient concerns and complaints. To the quality assurance in the regulatory body which supervising the healthcare organization in the country. Definitely where the breach of this right or the complaint is succeed, many measurement could be exercised by the facilities. They can, where the complaint is very minor, can just apology to the patient. If it is a severe sequences like medical malpractice, like breach of privacy or confidentiality, it's better for the hospital to have a system that offering a compensation to the patient, which is best than to go to the court and to furnish the things there. Always amicable settlement is a good way to save the patient dignity and the reputation of the facility and the staff. Please, the next slide. Right to seek second opinion. This right should be understood as not as attacking the preliminary medical advice. You know, the progress of the medicine is ongoing, and therefore the patient needs to be satisfied that the diagnosis is the right. And now the machines is intervene in such diagnosis. It is not purely human field work. It is sort of machine like MRI, CT scan. So the patient should not be prevented from exercising this right, which will not and shall not be understood as it is attacking the practice or the medical practitioner who give the first the medical advice. The next slide. Research. This is very rooted right in the medical ethics and in the patient rights and even in the human rights in general. That research means that to receive an information about medical treatment that has been given to the patient and to be used for the sake of a research. Definitely, the statistic could be allowed if the research is going to speak about the percentage of like patients who has been succeeding in healing of cancer by using such kind of medication or treatment methodology. Yeah, it is okay. No need for informed consent from the patient. But where there will be exploring or reflecting or examination of any patient data to improve a fact of research in such kind of purpose, the consent should be obtained from the patient. Otherwise, legally, the staff and the facility will be at a legal risk for compensation. The next slide. And I will also brief this one because I think Prof. Menanchi spoke and covered the legal aspects of right to die in the Chinese legal system, which is not so far different from the legal system. It's better to examine a rich debate in the English court about this right. In this case, the Re versus T, which is published in all English report, adult patient with mental capacity enjoys absolute right to refuse further treatment, even where such refusal means certain death. We have to differentiate between two features of exercising this right: the refusal of treatment and the switch off of support. Definitely, the patient has the right to refuse treatment, but not to the limit that could affect his life. Yeah, and I can refuse ibuprofen because it will hurt my stomach, and I would be fine with paracetamol. Yeah, it is accepted here. The refusal of treatment here is accepted. but I cannot refuse the treatment which is necessary to life-saving, and alleging that I am exercising my right of refusal. Definitely, the hospitals have social working counselors who could pursue the patient or his family to accept the treatment where it is very necessary to his life. In issue of disconnected life support, in UK, they went far and they accepted such life support to be disconnected and will never constitute as murder. This also recognized in Canada in this case. In Islamic scholars, they restricted the disconnection of life support unless the natural death occurs. Yani the patient has the right in continuing support wherever he or she is alive. But the Islamic scholars give this right that the switch off of the support connection upon the fatwa in 3 cases. The very important 2 of them are where the death is likelihood according to the patient health condition upon witness from the 3 specialized physicians. Yani the things is not left absolutely to the desire of the patient. The scholars here do respect the science that the death will happen, and no way that the treatment will succeed to give the healing, provided that 2 specialized physicians witness on this fact. In such case, the support could be disconnected. If the patient is unconscious and no hope of healing as a result of chronic disease, this way also, and the connection of the support is like matter of timing. It is not even enlarging the life of the patient, but yani, the organs is where because of such connection. Also, the opinion of a specialized physician and the witness is required, and in such case, the support machines could be disconnected. Please go for the references. Which is Margaret Fraser. This very nice book, by the way, and it is republished in 2023. Also, this research in the website is very interesting and very rich of data literature on patient rights. You can find also the fatwa of Islamic scholars on some patient rights, like right to die. Thank you for audience for hearing, and I hope that I am shortly and useful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Abuelgassim. It's very interesting, especially when you talk about the Islamic fatwa, because I have a students who are doing Islamic law. They are all here. Probably they would like to ask more about how Islam look at when there's the patient rights, but also there's also the right to help others, okay, in Islam. Okay, so I would like to invite the next speaker is Professor Albert Lee of University of Hong Kong. Professor Albert Lee is a Vice President Asia of the World Association for Medical Law and also member of Education Committee and Journal Medicine and Law. He's also Emeritus Professor of Public Health and Primary Care and Clinic Professional Consultant in Family Medicine of the Chinese University of Hong Kong and Senior Research Fellow of Center for Medical Ethics and Law of the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Okay, I think there are many others, but we would like to hear from the presentation of Professor Albert Lee. The screen is yours, Professor.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Rina, for the kind introduction and invitation for this very exciting and very useful series of forum. And thank you also Executive Director Nukila and organizing this kind of series and also providing the opportunity to share with all the experts. And I think we have heard an excellent presentation by Dr. Yang and Dr. Ahmed. And I think mine is, I will say, followed quite well because I'm now focusing more on while the elderly sort of still living at the end, near the end stage of the life, how we should ensure they have the right to access the best quality of health care. This is how I'm trying to do it. And looking into, to start off, you look at the contemporary health issue, aging population, and then touching on, follow up what Dr. Yang and Dr. Ahmed, focusing on some of the legal determination, the right of the health for the aged population while they still living. We wanted them to live well, all right? Relief of suffering, as Dr. Yang mentioned in the last slide, the quote from Francis Bacon. And then how to ensure equity in health and rethink our healthcare model for aged care. I hope to cover this, and I welcome further enlightenment and comments from more the audience. Now, the Lancet, they have a global burden of disease collaborating group. They publish every few years on the global burden of diseases, all right? And this is, well, not the latest one, but fairly late one. And look at some of the risk exposure. Why are we getting, in a way, our population health is better than at that time when I was born 60 odd years ago. And a lot of the advancement is not just on the medical technology, not just the hospital system, is how we improve the socioeconomic condition. And definitely we can witness in our part of the world, country like China, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, territory like Hong Kong, Macau, it's always because of the improvement of socioeconomic development and leading to better health of our population. And we still worry about conditions like air pollution. Apart from that, some of the metabolic risk factors like obesity, high body mass index, overweight, fasting plasma glucose, diabetes are hitting our aging population, especially in our part of the world, right? When I was external examiner to Malaysia, and I found out the diabetes, right? The preference getting higher and higher. The same in Hong Kong and China. When I first returned from UK to this part of the world in 1985, 85, all right? 40 years ago. And basically hypertension, diabetes in China, Hong Kong, well, in Asia is very low. And I could, well, it's rapidly expanding, and especially on our aging population. And you look at high blood pressure, right, is one of the leading risk factors for health, causing a lot of death, okay? And for those aged 50, 74, again, in the developed part of the world, developing world, maybe iron deficiency, and high blood pressure is the main burden of disease for older age group, and cardiovascular disease had jumped about really double, and I think it reached at a much faster rate in our part of the world. Okay, coming to that, when we deliver healthcare to the elderly, I think I can comprehend clinician. Sometimes we tend to do in silos. What we're trying to do, we focus on one disease. Now, let me share with you with my experience, my old patients, right? In looking at the two diseases I talk about, diabetes, hypertension. It's not just taking the tablet. For example, we know how to control the disease better. They need healthy diet, low salt diet, low fat diet, low calorie diet, and they need to move around, physical mobility, right? And sometimes they elderly, they're living alone. They cannot cope because of the joint deformity. They cannot go out to buy their food. So they end up, they can't afford, all right? And so they end up with the low quality, although it's cheap, low quality, inverted comma junk food, which is making the hypertension worse, diabetes worse. And they need help to move around, right? And they can't access to other spaces. So they become the joint degenerate. And if they don't do exercise, they don't move around, and they're eating the wrong kind of food, they're getting more overweight, obese, and making the blood pressure and hypertension worse, and also joint deformity. So what I'm trying to say is, with elder patient, we don't just tell them, oh, you got diabetes, your blood pressure not well, I add a tablet. So I add up more medicine and causing more side effect. So what we need for elderly sometimes is kind of holistic care, good coordination of care. It's not just which expert we need. We need expert team able to identify the needs. More is the daily needs of the patient, the social needs of our elderly patient, all right? Our elderly people and what they really need, and then try to find a way. For example, they need someone to help them with the shopping. They need someone to just push the wheelchair to make them move around and help them to walk with walking aid to the park, get them physical mobile, socially less disconnected, all right? So this is what I call patient-centered care. And then we should not deliver a healthcare model, especially for the older population, in silo, and balancing what do they need. They may need some home physio to help their joint movement. They may need someone to look at the house to make it safer, not to fall over. So those are the what we call holistic elderly care. It's not just one specialty. It's a team, may not be very high level of advanced medicine, but the basic health and social needs of the elderly. That's what they need. Now, this slide is by Professor Gostin, a very famous in Georgetown University, a very famous healthcare lawyer, a very distinguished first scholar that done a lot of the looking into the legal determinants of health, right? That's why I'm trying to translate and make use of his scholar activity, and then to tie in the clinical perspective. I talk about the increasing of the heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and then related because of the overweight, raised blood pressure, raised lipid level. When we got to ask ourselves, being a public health person, I put on my head as a public health person, why they have this? Because they're eating unhealthily, they're not moving around, and they might be smoking, alcohol when they were young, and all those are the modifiable risk factor which we got to modify to prevent them getting some metabolic risk factor, preventing them to get the heart disease, lung, and then diabetes and cancer later on in life. And why we are not modifying the risk factor? We've been fighting with tobacco industry for half a century, and certain country now able to get smoke-free, right? We will be fighting very hard with the alcohol, all right? Yeah, and also fighting with the fast food, okay? Because I just mentioned earlier on, sometimes I'm not against any particular branding of food, but sometimes it's the low-cost food product and not necessarily healthy. And sometimes they market the approach and make people to go and to buy those food because of market approach. So we have industry, the food industry, alcohol industry, tobacco industry, oppose the public health intervention. And also because urban development, especially in our part of the world, there are so many mega cities. We lack the place opportunity for the elderly to be physical active, which I will come on to that in a minute. Well, it's nearly over 15, over 10 years and nearly 15 years. The United Nations, not just WHO, make a declaration. It's a high-level meeting on prevention and control of NCD, non-communicable disease. And why should be EN initiative, not just WHO? Because we need to, our strategy need to touch on not just health, let's touch on legislation, touch on financial measure, fiscal policy, as well as education. We want the golden word for public health is healthy choice copy easy choice. As a doctor, if I put my head as a doctor, I can only advise whether the healthy choice easy choices. I can't control the food market, all right? I can't control the urban planning, okay? I can't control the price. So they come to the law. That's why I got interest in law later on. The law is not dictating. People think, oh, we can't use law to change the lifestyle. No, you don't tell people what to eat. You don't tell people to jump, to run. But the law can be very powerful to modify the social, economic, and the living environment where people live, where they could decide what they want to eat, where they want to go. And then the public official then need to create, if it's by legislation, to create a supportive living environment conducive for health. Health is high on the public policy agenda. It's not just health policy, it's a public policy, right? Then they have the obligation, the duty to create this kind of supportive environment, just like urban planning. What the word we use the word urban sprawl. That means unrestricted growth of urban area with little planning and has been found associated with obesity, hypertension, and also mental health. That's been many studies. So how, if we know that the law could require those people involved in planning, urban planning, need to be more organized, create adequate space for people, especially elderly, barrier-free, and they can move around for physical mobility and social connection. That's a currently I'm working on with the Institute of Planner to try to make some of the old city in Hong Kong become more walkable, right? And we look at International Convention for Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. It's quite clear the right of everyone to enjoyment the highest sustainable standard of physical and mental health. This is more than just health services. It got to the right of our citizens to be able to lead to a healthy life. So that covers safe food and nutrition. That means adequate nutrition value, not overdoing it, not underdoing it. Now we have two extremes. In one end of population is high nutrition. We could have, and the other end, low nutrition, typically elderly. On one hand, they have all the bad food, they got hypertension, cholesterol. On the other hand, they don't have enough iron intake, so they got anemia. Anemia, no hemoglobin, make the heart worse, make the chronic condition worse. So it's a vicious cycle. So you have double. You have one patient, on one hand, they suffer from overnutrition. Those things you don't want them to get high cholesterol, things like that. On the other hand, no nutrition, low fiber, no iron as well. All right. Housing, all right. Safe water, okay. Healthy working place when they're young, and then the occupation, environmental condition, and also access to the health-related information. Okay. Now this is complex. I'm just trying to make it simple. So you see from the top end, the policy need to cover legal, financial, regulatory, trading as well. All right. The trading, make sure the healthy food can come at affordable price. I attended a talk a couple of years ago in UK, the Faculty of Public Health, and they worry about Brexit. With the impact of United Kingdom leaving European Union, they lose a lot of tax because it's, well, before European, the food, free movement of the food. UK, United Kingdom is a very small country. Without, if the food imported need to be imposed, after Brexit, there will be custom duty, tariff. That means the food will be even more expensive, right? That's also trading is one issue, right? It's not just on some of the hard product, day-to-day product like food, clothing, okay? Now, on the right side, we already talked about some of the care we should deliver. And then on the left side, the determinants of health, we look at the social, political, economic determinants of health, how what happened in daily life could affect individual and the family. And on the other bottom hand is the communication through the media, community, resources, and the setting base. That means where they live, where they work, where they enjoy life. That setting is an excellent place to promote or optimize the health. Okay, so health equity beyond 2030, we have Sustainable Development Goal 2030. So I think universal health coverage is one end. It's great we achieved in many countries, but even we find out that from high-income countries, many household members still paying a lot, even they have a universal health coverage, like UK or like in Hong Kong. I'm sure Indonesia also, very good universal health coverage. However, all right, it is other resources like what I just mentioned early on. All right, and a lot of other resources are not covered, like food, all right, berry-free. Those were still a health burden. The family may need to pay someone to buy the food, someone to look after the elderly, and those are the costs as well. That's what exactly, again, Professor Gosley mentioned. So sometimes it's a temptation for policymakers to cut the service, to cut costs and lower the healthcare expenditure, but they're cutting the wrong kind of service. They're cutting those most cost-effective health service, benefit the larger section of the population, and then spending money on those services, which is basically only marginal population benefit. All right. So I think it's one common the system failure I mentioned earlier on. It must be the remedy is the economic and social improvement. All right. So again, the healthcare model is not a charity, it's citizens' right, as mentioned by both Dr. Yang and Dr. Ahmed. Okay, citizens should access to healthcare, and we got to decide the healthcare is a much broader coverage, not just teaching on tablet and giving them investigation. It's day-to-day care. All right. So I put the 5A and availability, including the public health, and then the basic health need. Accessible, not non-discriminatory, without barrier for elderly as well. Affordable, especially for elderly. Acceptable, it's sensitive to culture, gender, and the different stage of development for adolescent, and also for women of certain population group, for certain country ethnic minority. And we need to ensure high level of skill of our professional, evidence-based medicine. All right. So the come to find out about the new model. I think I've been advocating primary care, high healthcare for decades, and also the WHO initiative. And because in a way, primary care is not the primary care professional, like family doctor, primary care doctor, which I am. I'm not expert in particular disease, but in a way, I'm more familiar with dealing with the person as a whole, system as a whole. All right. So we're able to help the people to provide what they need, try to coordinate the service. And we communicate because we are practicing communicate. We tend to get close touch with them and then to sense their living condition. And that's why we actually could support the public health initiative. And we can't enable patients the same level of care with hospital. Only those with serious condition go to hospital. But everyone will go to primary care at some point of time. So accessible primary care is more economic feasible and also socially feasible. Okay. And so can everybody receive primary care? They got to be accessible primary health care. From there, if needed, certain people may need to go hospital for further treatment. Once they stabilize, they can come back. And it's much easier, more feasible, and less costly to get things done mainly in primary care, and only as a gatekeeping, we refer out those who need sophisticated, advanced medical care. And then once they stabilize, they can come back. And doesn't matter, different income group, they could still access to primary care. And because the financial subsidy of primary care will be much less than subsidizing people going to hospital. Now, this is the diagram to show how primary care to help majority elderly. We are sometimes elderly, we are relieve the suffering. We are not sometimes to return back to their own health, as Dr. Yang mentioned in the last slide. Okay, and basically we try to maintain the well-being. So primary care, we are dealing with different body systems. They don't have a problem more than one system. I don't find any of my elderly patients only have one problem. They're multi-problem. They end up seeing multiple specialists. They still are not hitting with the problem. Okay. And then we can deal with acute problem, chronic problem at the same time. Most important is physical, psychological, social needs. And not just more than medication. They may need something else. They may other resources. Okay. And we can link. And that's all. Primary health care is not restricted by the age group, particular gender. So it's for all persons. So the aim is community-based care. We try to reduce hospital setting. By reducing 1%, it's a substantial saving healthcare system. All right. So hospital bed is most expensive bed, more than Four-Seasons Hotel or 6-star hotel. The actual cost of staying one night in hospital is a lot of money. All right. And even saving few admission per day, that will be substantial saving healthcare system. How could we do that? We try to get the primary care to look after more, but we cannot just keep on expanding primary care. The effective way is help other sources of help to help patients to manage a problem in the community so they report less symptoms. So you can see what I'm trying to do is getting the people reporting less symptom, less problem by self-help and self-management, and working with other resources in the community to improve the health. So when we look at health equity, apart from the health, universal health coverage, public health measure, and I think we've been addressing a lot of human right to right kind of service to optimize the health, not just health service, right to access to the service to optimize the health and well-being and relieve the suffering. You need good governance of the whole government, all right, as a whole, not just the health service, social service, economic development, planning, etc., etc., because we need to deal with the social determinants of health. And that is the killer, toxic things, and not just the diseases themselves, is social injustice, bad arrangement of our living system as a whole, poor social policy, unfair economic arrangement, causing social inequality, as raised by Professor Sir Michael Marmot, the chair of the Commission, WHO Commission on Social Determinants of Health. And then Marmot reviewed what happened in England. It's important to create and develop a sustainable places for people to live, to counteract the impact of ill health. So I think sustainable development goal aim to create a sustainable living environment. And that's part of what I call healthy setting approach, the healthy city for the people, help promoting workplace for the workforce, help promoting school for the student. So when we talk about human rights-based approach, this is actually a very effective way we hit it well to help the poor, the vulnerable group, and marginalized groups, particularly elderly. Elderly poor is not just economic, it's sometimes they even have money, but they may not access the resources. You have all the money in the house, but you don't know how to make use of resources to help. Okay, well, a little bit of advertisement. As Prof. Rina introduced me as a World Associate Medical Law, and recently we established a Asian Australian Pacific regional affiliate under the World Associate Medical Law. Particularly the great work I must acknowledge my great brother, Professor Dr. Nasir. I'm sure you all know him very well. I respect the big brother. He set up all this, all right? And basically, the World Associate Medical Law really want treasure the input from our part of the world. Okay, so we will have another upcoming seminar, and Dr. Yang, one of the speaker again, and Dr. Men Tang, and I've been a previous speaker, and Dr. Lester from Philippines, and looking into some of the issue again is right, child consent, AI, and then decision making. And I urge you to join in by 10th October and 6:30 Hong Kong time. And then next year, you must all come to our World Congress of Medical Law and present some of your great work. Okay, it's in Turkey, and please do come and present your great work. And then we have more opportunity to share and discuss. Well, thank you for inviting me. And this is the book I wrote about healthy setting if you're interested and to enlighten me further. And thank you, Terima kasih, and Salaman Soha. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Albert Lee. And then we come to the last presenter is from Indonesia, Dr. Ali. Are you with us?
Yes, yes, Prof.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I would like to introduce very briefly, Dr. Ali is one of the medical doctor from Bunda Halimah Hospital in Batam. And he's also the student of Master of Law of Universitas Internasional Batam. And Dr. Ali attended the seminar, the International Congress, and he was one of the presenter in international session. So actually, Dr. Ali introduced me also to some of the colleagues here. Okay, without further ado, I would like to hand the screen and the mic to Dr. Ali. Please, Dr. Ali.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Okay, you can see my slide. Right? Okay.
Very clear.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In this afternoon, I will share to you about the teenage pregnancy and maternal health care, especially in the medical perception. Okay, in this objective about global and Indonesian burden, causes and including its social determinants, effect and complication of teenage pregnancy, and practice in preventing teenage pregnancy. Okay, before we learn about teenage pregnancy, let us know about the pregnancy. Pregnancy is a result of the fertilization of eggs from the woman and sperm from the man, and become zygote and embryo and become a new human. It is unique condition. Yeah. And then what is teenage pregnancy? As we know that human, if in okay, as we know that a teenage pregnancy as a pregnancy that's occurred in teen girls between the age of 13 until 19 years. Although precisely not a teenager, a young girl 12 or under who is pregnant also fall into this definition of teenage pregnancy. Teenage pregnancy is also widely known as adolescent pregnancy. In the global statistic, 7.3 million girls become pregnant before 18 years each year, and second highest cause of death, pregnancy and childbirth complication for girls, and half of pregnancy among girls aged 14 until 19 living in developing regions are unintended, and 3 million girls undergo unsafe abortion every day. And how about in Indonesia? In Indonesia, unwanted pregnancy among unmarried women frequently occur between the age of 13 until 18 years. Other research indicate that teenage pregnancy rate in Indonesia remain high, and it's increased years up to the years. And by the 1914, this trend continues to rise, reaching 87.5%. Then in this information highlights the urgent needed for attention to the high rate of pregnancy among unmarried women in Indonesia. And if we see the slide, that effect can see clearly, but causes we sometimes we cannot see clearly, because in the teenage pregnancy causes is still unseen, and like unprotected sex, sexual fear, abuse, norm, child marriage, cultural norm, lack of access of contraception, it is cause of teenage pregnancy. And how about the effect? The effect increasing case of early pregnancy, it makes newborn deaths and maternal death, health complication, and increasing family expenses, dropping out of school, decreasing prospect for livelihood. And many factors that make teenage pregnancy, like peer pressure, drug, and substance abuse, leading to compromised decision. Irresponsible sexual behavior that frequently occur in youth who do not have basic information about sex and contraception. Early marriage and childbearing among adolescent females, and problem in parent-child relationship, property and material deprivation that may push young people into the survival sex in exchange for money and food. Exposure to suggestive or explicit media, film, and magazine music that may influence the adolescent sex behavior, causing them to engage in sexual activity before they are ready, and failure to comply with religious principles and commandments prescribed by religious ethics. Behavior cause the teenage pregnancy, engaging in unprotected sex and sex with multi-partner and transactional or commercial sex. Is behavior cause the teenage pregnancy. And if there is teenage pregnancy, so health risk for pregnant, like premature birth, babies born with a low birth weight, high risk of infant mortality, problem with breastfeeding, anemia, or low iron levels during pregnancy, high blood pressure, and emotional and mental health problems, drop out of school, and behavior problem and chronic medical condition of the children. Social economic deprivation, both a cause and consequence of adolescent pregnancy, teenage pregnancy, and it can make loss of and consequence of loss of education and employment opportunity, and it make property. So poverty can make teenage pregnancy. And the loss of education and employment can make teenage pregnancy so too. And how to preventive practice? The first is personal value about sex and abstinence, and perception of peer norm and sexual behavior, knowledge of sexual issue, HIV, other sexual transmitted disease, and pregnancy, including mother of prevention. Perception of HIV risk, attitudes towards condoms, individual ability to refuse sex and to use condom. How can teenage pregnancy be prevented? The best prevention is abstain from sexual activities. Teenage should be encouraged to not to have sex, because by abstaining, the could avoid getting pregnant and getting sexual transmitted infection. If they are already sexual active, it is advisable that they sit down with their parents or trusted adult and get advice on different birth control methods that are available. This can be used to prevent unwanted pregnancy. Teenagers should be exposed to the broader information on how to responsibly use different contraceptive techniques. This is can taught in health class of the school. Can invite a nurse to have this conversation with learners. Different birth control methods should be made available and easy to access. Teenage pregnancy intervention, the first prevention service. Prevention service make behavior change. One, avoids the risky behavior. Then practice of protective behavior, utilization of service, and increase in knowledge about teenage pregnancy. It can prevention of morbidity. And for the case manager service, make utilization of service to prevent of mortality in the teenage pregnancy. And then I will share you about maternal health. Maternal health care, including care of women during pregnancy, childbirth, and after childbirth. It also includes treatment of childless people. Maternal and child health problems is the first is malnutrition, infection, uncontrolled reproduction in developed countries. Congenital malformation, genetic disease, and behavioral problem are issues of concern. Maternal and child health is referred to promotive, preventive, curative, and rehabilitative healthcare for mothers and children. Its aim to reduce of maternal, perinatal, infant, and childhood mortality and morbidity. Promotion of reproductive health, promotion of psychological and psychological development of the child and adolescent. Maternal risk factor. The first maternal risk factor is defined as probability of dying or experiencing serious injury as a result of pregnancy or childbirth. Maternal healthcare. The first young preemie or first pregnancy below 20 years, and elderly preemie or first pregnancy is the 35 years and over, having too many babies, having too close pregnancy, mother with short height less than 145 centimeter, having a small and inadequate pelvis, mother having less than 40 kilogram of weight, usually underweight, mothers are malnutrition and anemic, mother having more than 70 of weight have difficult during childbirth. Mother having malnutrition and anemia, these mothers are weak and find too difficult to tolerance the stress and strain of pregnancy and childbirth. Associated medical condition, this is including heart disease, high blood pressure, kidney disease, tuberculosis, diabetes, repeated attacks of malaria, hepatic disorder, etc. And maternal health care component, there are antenatal, intranatal, postnatal care. Antenatal care is care during pregnancy to promote, protect, maintain health of mother during pregnancy, to ensure the birth of mature and healthy baby, to identify high-risk mother and give them appropriate attention to prevent complication, to prepare the mother for the confinement, to prepare the mother to care for her body, her baby. Antenatal examination is like history taking, physical examination, abdominal examination, assessment of gestational age, laboratory investigation. For laboratory investigation, is routine like pregnancy detection, hemoglobin estimation, urine test, for albumin and sugar, a rapid malaria test, screening at primary health care like blood group and rhesus factor, syphilis, HIV testing, blood glucose estimation, hepatitis B for screening, and considering significant change in mother and child after 24 weeks, and also perform screening tests. It's preferred that third visit should be at the primary health care to be examined by medical officer. And we identify high-risk case. For the high-risk case like elderly preemie, then statutory malpresentation, antepartum hemorrhage, preeclampsia and eclampsia, anemia, twins, bad obstetric history, elderly, grand multiparas, and prolonged pregnancy. Any medical illness, previous cesarean, treatment for infertility. And in antenatal care service, we make registration for pregnant women. The mother must be registered within 12 weeks of pregnancy. And when antenatal visit, ideally, the mother should attend the antenatal clinical once a month during the first 7 months, then twice a month during 8 and weekly thereafter. But if not, visibly, at least 4 visits are minimal required in antenatal care service. And care during first contact, taking health history, physical examination, general medical examination, obstetrical examination, laboratory examination, and immunization against tetanus. And mother is given iron and folic acid to prevent anemia in mother and promote proper growth of fetus. Health education during pregnancy. Diet during pregnancy as well balanced diet is required during pregnancy for the proper growth and development fetus for optimum health of mother. A pregnant woman should be educated regarding personal hygiene. Smoking and drinking, mother should be advised to avoid smoking and drinking alcohol. It leads to low birth weight and retardation. Drug, the mother should be advised not to take any medicine useless. It is prescribed by the doctor.
Okay. Dr. Ali, can
Yes.
we shorten it because we only have 4 minutes for you left?
Oh, okay, thank you. For the mother should be advised to avoid abdominal X-ray. It predisposes child the risk of leukemia and other cancer. Protect from the infection and illness and sexual activity. Avoid coitus during the first trimester. It increases the risk abortion. And avoid travel during first and last trimester. And then postnatal care. It refers to care which is rendered to both mother and baby after delivery to restore, promote, and maintaining health of mother and baby, and to promote breastfeeding, and to motivate for plain and small family norms, to educate mother and family on various aspects of mother and child care. Care of the mother, general observation mother surrounding the overall health status mother, and observation of any abnormality in the abdomen like painful and hard abdomen. And specific health protection at anemia, tetanus, vaccine is conducted. And then maternal preparation regarding change in body appearance and mother crab. And okay, I think this is like last slide, family planning advice to spacing mothers if family expansion is decided. And terminal method is if family is complete, but better to be postponed till the second child in 3 years old. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Ali. So Dr. Ali elaborate about the contemporary health issues in Indonesia pertaining to the maternal health and also teenage pregnancy, because now this issue has been booming in Indonesia. In some part of Indonesia, there's a lot of teenagers, okay, they're still under 18 years old, but they already get pregnant. So we would like to know more about that. And that's why we now come to the very exciting discussion, because we have 5 questions. It's very I have more questions about that, but let me just read, okay, several questions which is given by different participants. Okay, the first question is for Dr. Manman and Dr. Abuelgassim. Okay, so are you with us? Dr. Manman? Dr. Abuelgassim? Yes, okay.
Yep.
Now I'll just read
Here.
the question. Yes.
Okay.
In terms of informed consent, in the case of a patient who is old or older and has a degenerative disease and there is a vaccination obligation to travel to a country that requires meningitis vaccine or yellow fever vaccine, how does the patient refuse an appeal? So can you please respond, Dr. Manman, first?
Okay, this is a very excellent question. So when we talk about the patient's right to refuse, it means that the patient refuse medical treatment when the patient has disease, other than the patient accept a vaccine before travel. So I think the patient should think carefully if his or her health status can't bear him to get vaccine. Like a patient exercise the right to informed refusal. The outcome of decision may die. So if this individual who is old with degenerative disease refuse the vaccine, he or she has to accept he can't travel to the other country. So this is my answer. I hope I answered this question.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Manman. Dr. Abuelgassim, are you still with us? What do you think from your perspective about the requirement of having vaccine, especially for the elderly people, and how they can refuse? Dr. Oh, okay, probably we need to go to the next question, still with you, Professor Manman. The question is, I agree with patient autonomy in making decisions, but doesn't life belong to God? How's the law views God's right to own life? So this is more because I think they're from the students of religious class. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So thank you for this question. So from my view, whether life belongs to God is uncertain. This question actually is related to the principle of sanctity of life or my talk. So let's back to the principle of sanctity of life. The principle of sanctity of life is rooted in specific religions, beliefs, and historical context. Modern society is pluralistic and inclusive. Some has religions and some has not. Religion's concepts can't simply bind individual choice. So from my view, every individual has the right to make decisions about their life consistent with their values and wishes, respect autonomy, enhance the quality and meaning of life. And furthermore, adherence to the sanctity of life is not a generalization. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Manman. Okay, now this is a question for Professor Albert. Okay, this is actually a comment, but I would like to know your response. In Japan, dementia has become a very serious problem. Somehow, it seems beyond the autonomy or consent of the patient. As a matter of fact, my mother-in-law, I think this is from Masa Sensei from Japan, has dementia. She is still alive, but she has already gone. In legal terms, she is alive. Things are quite complicated, actually. So the question is, how you think about the patient's rights when we talk about the elderly people who have dementia? Seems like, she's still alive, but, everything is very difficult and very complicated. I think Professor Albert, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here. Okay, let me address this one. I think basically people still alive and even people suffering from dementia, they still have the capacity to consent. Depends on what we want them to consent. Just like even mental handicapped children, they still have the right to consent. Is then from, maybe I talk from the medical legal perspective, as a medical practitioner, if I'm asked to assess the patient, my task is to assess whether she understand maybe, well, let's say she go for operation, does she understand, could she able to make a decision, understand the risk and what she really want, all right? Now, some elder patient may not have capacity to make other decision, but they may be able to make some, and also depends on the time of the day, all right? Sometimes one day they may be quite sane and the other day not so, all right? So I remember many years back, one of the 87 years old lady, we really have a terminal stomach cancer. From medical point, is futile to operate. It's not going to survive. But when I talk to her, she say, I understand risk, but I want to take the risk because I'm really in pain. All right. Okay. And I just want to get rid of pain. Even I know I'm going, but I know the risk of dying, but I think I'd rather take the risk. Then of course this has become a very concern, even though she's very old and not really, when you ask other things, very confused. I think we got to, the patient understand that can she master information, can she make alternative, right? And not just because of age or whether she is suffering from dementia or not, all right? So we can do the simple assessment. It's case by case and day by day, all right? That's one thing. Now, if she really, he or she has no capacity, then become a guardian. Then the next of kin need to be discussed. And sometimes we involve the whole family, all right? You know, the whole family, all right? Simple thing, if they're 5 siblings and they come together, have a family conference, and if I find out definitely your mom or dad has no capacity to understand anything, all right, then become the close family, we got to explain, and then they will make a collective decision, right? And then that will cover up the medical legal perspective, all right? So one thing we do not want to bar decision making just because suffering from dementia or mental incapacity. We still need to assess from time to time whether they could understand what they're going in for. I hope that answered the question.
Okay, thank you so much. And still for you, Professor Larbert. Okay, I'll just read the questions. Thank you, Professor Larbert, for explaining the connection between health issues needed by elderly and issues of food, services, marginal population, economic income, day-to-day care for the elderly. According to you, what points must be contained in a law in a country regarding health protection for the elderly? Can you please respond to this question, Professor?
Okay, thank you very much for the question, right? I think that's very important. I think there's several things we can do. The basic thing, just like I think in many countries now they have for reporting system. I think we should have like in children, mandatory reporting system for some elder abuse. If elder being abused by, sometimes they may be staying at home, carer, and then there should be someone like professional or anyone involved in caring elderly. If they notice so strongly suspect elderly being neglected, abused, there should be a reporting mechanism to alert the relevant personnel to step in, just like child abuse. All right. Okay, that's one thing. And second thing, I think we got to make sure in the I think in China, maybe America, there already is a policy, and a lot of elderly home got to be in place for the aging population. I think we need to, maybe, well, in a way, a government policy, or you can call it a law, all right, in a way to design with the elderly population some provision for elderly home or support at home if they want to remain at home. The fundamental, the law is you want to elderly remain in community, may not be in the home, but at least not institutionalization. And I think another law is all elderly homes should be, in a way, a family-like rather than another hospital. They should have the access to other amenity to maintain the daily living, not just feeding them or dashing them medication. They got to optimize their well-being. So in other words, the elderly homes, there should be some laws and regulation how people operate the elderly home, not just the safety, in also mobility and social enhancement for the elderly. I think those are the few basic things as well. And also for those elderly, if they do need subsidized care for food, transport, they should be provided. All right, the basic thing. All right, I think some of those basic things could save you a lot of cost. And think about elderly admit to hospital one night. For that amount of money, you could build in others basic support service for the elderly. So I think that should be, in a way, established in legislation to protect the elderly.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Albert. Okay, now this is a question for Dr. Ali. Thank you, Dr. Ali, in addressing teenage pregnancy, which should be preventable. The school setting should put effective sex education top of agenda. For example, adolescents should have rights to access to effective means to avoid unsafe and unprotected sex in school curriculum. Please kindly advise whether this can be a feasible approach. So this is about the sex education in school curriculum, Dr. Ali. Can you please respond?
Okay, thank you, Prof, for the question. I think, yes, I agree that incorporating effective sex education in the school curriculum is highly feasible and recommended approach to prevent teenage pregnancy, and it can promote safe and protect sexual practice among adolescents, like some comprehensive sex education, provide young people with accurate and appropriate information about sexuality and sexual reproductive health, which is critical for their health and survival. And then study have shown that comprehensive sex education program reduce the incidence of sexual transmitted disease, unattended pregnancy, and risky sexual behavior. I think this program also helped young people delay the onset of sexual activity and practice safer sex when they do engage. And I think national guidelines and recommendation makes clear about guidance and essential content and skill needed for sex education, and its topics about such as consent, anatomy, puberty, and sexual health. In summary, that's incorporating effective sex education into the school curriculum. It's not only feasible, but only essential for preventing teenage pregnancy. And I think it's promoting safe and protected sexual practice among adolescents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ali. Oh, I see Dr. Fajri Ishaq, the director of Hermin Hospital, raised his hand. You would like to speak to the panelists directly, Dr. Ishaq? Please. Please unmute yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Prof. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for moderator and speaker. Maybe the first I want to ask, I have my question for Dr. Abuelgassim from Qatar, maybe.
Oh, he's leaving because he's got to leave because he has work.
Okay, and
he apologized for that.
Second question for the Dr. Albert Lee. Thank you.
Okay, yes, Prof. Albert. Yeah,
okay.
Yes,
nice to meet you again, Dr. Albert. My name is Fajri Ishaq. A few months ago, we met in Batam at the World Medical Law event. Okay. What I want to ask is how the policy is in its country that implements national health insurance for all its people and for all types of disease related to their rights. It means all type diagnosis to a health service. But on the one hand, there are obstacles related to promotion and prevention of disease, including the cost of treatment or for disease when people become patients who come to the hospital, because this will be a problem downstream and even become an obstacle in health services when universals guarantees universal health coverage in national health insurance will find their limits. In this case, the cost, Dr. Albert Lee. What's your opinion for about this? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. So it's nice to meet you again, and thank you for a question, and really important.
Yeah.
I think if you think about universal coverage, national insurance only cover treatment, we will run into a big problem, as you mentioned. All right, I think an escalation of medical costs. That's exactly what we're facing in Hong Kong. I think now in National Health Service, NHS in UK, in 1984, when they were first established, they thought it's very simple mind. We provide the treatment and patient will be healthier. As time goes on, they find out it's not the case. So they have the black report, okay, in the quality of health, and they have recently the Marmot reviews and Michael Marmot. I think when we talk about national health insurance, they got to cover the different tiers of prevention. All right, they must look at, like in UK now, they have some early screening program, and that's what we're doing in Hong Kong and also in Australia as well, and try to identify those high-risk group and detect them early, and then treat them early, hopefully less expensive. That's one thing, early intervention to detect them at the high-risk group before they develop diseases. Talk about screening. Of course, we got to be evidence-based in screening and high coverage rate. I think in UK, the good thing in the United Kingdom, the system is this National Health Service, people will have the same family doctor or GP, and then they're ready to practice, and they only if they move the country, they will move. So they could achieve a high coverage rate. All right. So I think you've got to be high coverage rate if you want to do screening. It's no point to do screening, it's only a low coverage. Okay. So you need to have a system to ensure those who need to be screened and screened. And a lot of times it's the other way around. Those who do not need to be screened and end up screening, and those at risk still being left behind. So I think that's one way. And another thing I think I emphasize during my talk is the primary prevention of public health intervention. We got to protect our population exposing to those harmful conditions. Like we've done a lot for tobacco, alcohol, how about unhealthy food, and also enhance the protection, like getting physical activity, social mobility. All right. So I think national health insurance should look into the primary, secondary, as well as the tertiary. That means tertiary is basic treatment, right? Treat them early, detect them early, or preventing things happening. I think unless we could do this in a comprehensive way. And also in Australia, the Medicare system, they allow not just looking at doctors, but other services which will help the patient, they could get reimbursed. For example, like diet, nutrition, or some counseling services, and they could be part of it. And then that could save a lot of medical costs later on in life. I think we need to develop when we think about national health service and covering the wide, not just before they become sick, all right, and also non-medical service that will help the patients as well. Thanks for your enlightening question.
Okay, thank you so much for the response, Dr. Albert. I would like to thank to all of you, especially to Professor Manman, Dr. Abuelgassim, Professor Albert Lee, and Dr. Ali, who joined us and then made a very excellent and interesting topic of presenting today and the discussions we have, and learn a lot regarding the health issues and elderly care. Okay, so I would like to invite all of you, if we still have this webinar next month or the other months, and if you still want to join, please let us know, and we would like to contact you, because we are very interested to talk about health issues and then health law in different parts of the world. Okay. Now, again, I would like to thank our partner, Mbak Nukila Evanty from Women Study, from Women Working Group. And actually, we also have one partner from ASEAN Study Center, Ibu Nine. She is the host, but she's having a newborn, so she apologizes cannot, join by the camera. But I think she's listening also this webinar. Okay, I'm Rina Shahrullah from Women Study Center of Universitas International Batam. Again, say thank you so much, okay, for your time and your attention. And inshallah, we will see you again with next topic concerning healthcare and health law. Okay, bye for now.